Hello and welcome back to the Airborne Lawyer YouTube channel, and today you find me at Los Angeles International Airport. I have been travelling around the globe, going first from London Heathrow down to Cape Town. Then in my last video on the channel I flew from Cape Town round under Antarctica and back up the other side to Auckland in New Zealand. My last flight was from Auckland, New Zealand up to Los Angeles, and today I'm flying Los Angeles back to Heathrow. So lots of long haul for me at the moment, but it's all been quite fun, and you can check out some of the highlights of the trip on my other videos here on the channel, but also on my Instagram. Check out my Instagram in particular for some pictures of the flight in the Air New Zealand Dreamliner from Auckland to Los Angeles just the other day. Now, a big change since my last video is that I have now installed Prepare 3D v5.2, which is available for download from the Lockheed Martin website now. This new installment promises a large number of improvements and extra features. In particular, there's some new enhanced atmospherics and apparently better visuals whilst also reducing memory usage. I'm particularly interested to see how the improved atmospherics and lighting and shadows all work. There's maybe better volumetric cloud generation, enhanced precipitation effects, and so on, all to, of course, enhance the magic and realism of the sim. So it'll be interesting to see how we get on with that, and if you have any comments as you see this, do let me know what you think to it. Clearly Prepare 3D still competing alongside Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. Let's take a quick look at the route today. We are going to be flying out over the Pacific initially, and then turning back, looping round to the south of Los Angeles, and then heading up towards Las Vegas, and then all the way up, kind of going between Winnipeg and Thunder Bay in Canada, continuing right up to the North Atlantic coast, and then across the Atlantic, eventually coming across Northern Ireland. And we are expecting to fly the Nugra 1 hotel into London Heathrow tomorrow morning. That's the one which starts up near Liverpool and Manchester, and then takes you straight down the middle of the UK and into Heathrow. So plenty to look forward to, and I will be time-lapsing sections of the cruise as well. So I guess we better get in our seats, put our seatbelts on, get this plane ready, and get underway. So let's complete our takeoff preparations, and then we can get underway to Heathrow. So just scanning through the cockpit, we can quickly check the old oxygen canisters, and then take a look at the EFB. I just like doing that, really. Take a look at the EFB. So we're taking off from runway 24 left. It's dry. We've got a pretty strong wind, actually, 14 knot wind at 260 degrees, so pretty much a headwind. Nice warm 23 degrees, QNH 1011, and we're going to do a takeoff 2 derated takeoff today. For that we're going to need 15 degrees of flaps, and that gives us a V1 of 156 knots, rotate speed of 161 knots, and a V2 speed of 166 knots. I have then put all of that into the FMC, which pretty much came up with the same numbers, actually, just a very slight divergence on V1, which the FMC thinks will be 157 knots, but that's all in there, and that's also in the primary flight display as well. Route's all in the navigation display, and we have the V2 speed in the MCP, we have the takeoff runway heading in the heading indicator in the MCP, and then we've got the initial cruise altitude of flight level 330 also in the MCP. Auto brakes are RTO. We have Unicom tuned in, although there are no controllers on at the moment, at LAX, and we have the transponder on. Quick look at the overhead panel. We are now on APU power. We've got our hydraulics on. We've got the seatbelt signs on, fuel pumps are all on, packs are on as well. So we're pretty much all ready to go. What I'm just going to do now is disconnect the jetway. Off it goes. And let's run through a few checklists whilst that's in transit. So we've checked the oxygen canisters, flight instruments all look fine, parking brake is on, and fuel control switches are on as well. So the flight deck door is closed. I'm just going to check that all doors are closed as well. we've taken a look, well, we've checked the passenger signs, we've taken a look at the MCP for the V2 speed, heading and altitude, that's all in there. Takeoff speeds we've looked at, 157, 161 and 166. CDU pre-flight is complete. Trim we can set, so for our takeoff today that needs to be at 6.5. So we're going to just set that now. And going back to the checklist, taxi and takeoff briefing. Well, let's take a quick look, shall we, at the map on the EFB. All we're just going to do here is go straight over to Echo and then taxi down to the holding point for 2 for left. I think that's going to be Echo 6 that we will hold at. We will use the full length of the runway for the takeoff today. Okay, so the taxi and takeoff briefing is done. We will now call out the pushback tug and I will turn on the beacon. Okay, so we can release the parking brakes like so. Away we go. Right, we can start the engines. So I'll start engine 2 first. So I can hear engine 2 spooling up nicely. I am of course on default graphics here at LAX. I've never found a really good add-on actually for LAX. If anyone has any recommendations, I'd be very interested to hear, because I do fly to LAX fairly frequently on Flight Sim. But despite the fact that I'm on default graphics, the taxiways are all labelled correctly, so I can follow the signs. However, it's really not that far. You can just see 24 left right in front of us actually. We've just got to head down there and wait at the holding point. So engine 2 has started up nicely. Let's get engine 1 underway. So our expected flight time tonight is going to be around about 9.5 hours. It's going to be an overnight flight, landing mid-morning UK time tomorrow. So it's not going to be long really after takeoff, and we will head into the night. Right, we'll set the parking brakes and we're going to confirm good engine start to the GSX crew. And let's get the flaps out. So we need 15 degrees of flaps for today's takeoff. That's to enable us to do a nice takeoff 2D rate. And let's check the flight controls. So ailerons to the right and ailerons to the left. Elevators down and up. Rudder to the right, rudder to the left, and we'll just check the spoilers as well. Takeoff trim we have already set. Quick scan through the other bits and pieces on the ICAS. Just want to check here for plenty of green, which I'm seeing, which is all very good. All doors are close and armed. Perfect, okay. So back to the checklist, and on the before taxi checklist, so anti-ice, I'm going to turn off the engine anti-ice. We'll leave the wing anti-ice on just in case. We'll recall the ICAS, no error messages, but what we will just do now is turn off the APU. Flight controls we have checked, and ground equipment is now pretty much clear. All the indications as well here on the ICAS are normal, so that's good. And on the before takeoff checklist, that's already completed because we've already put the flaps out to 15. So let's get the taxi lights on. And as soon as the pushback tug is out the way, we can head off. Okay, here we go. So we're just going to go straight ahead, then turn right onto Echo. And head down to Echo 6. And this is a very long plane, so I'm going to let that yellow line go right the way over my shoulder and then start the turn. Take it nice and slow. And again, now a bit more breakaway power. So the distinctive centre of LAX there, just over on our right hand side. Obviously not the finest graphics, but it will have to do for now. And of course, just at the end of runways 24 left and 24 right is the infamous In-N-Out Burger restaurant, which is a hotspot for plane spotters. I have been to LAX a couple of times in real life, but I've never been to the In-N-Out Burger, which is a bit of a pity, because you get some spectacular views of the planes coming right overhead on approach into 24 right. So I have checked VATScope, there's nothing else around at LAX, or indeed in the airspace around LAX, but just for good measure I will announce my intentions in a few moments' time, just before I line up. In anticipation of that, I'm just going to turn on the landing lights, turn on the taxi lights. Sorry, taxi lights are already on. Turn on the wing lights and turn on the strobes. LAX traffic, Speedbird 268 heavy, lining up 24 left, Ocean 9 departure. LAX traffic. Okay, so let's get the clock going. Okay, so I'm going to push the thrust levers forward to around about 50% N1. They're nice and stable, and now hit the toga button.
On runway 24 left.
And away we go. Farewell to Los Angeles, 80 knots. It's a runway that goes on for absolutely ages, so we can prolong engine life with a nice derated takeoff. Gear up. LAX traffic, speedbird 268 is clear of runway 24 left. LAX traffic. Just start to bring in the flaps, so flaps 5. And flaps 1. Okay, I'm going to pop the autopilot on and just take a quick look outside. Well, it seems quite strange to think that we're going to be doing the first bit of this flight over the Pacific Ocean before crossing right the way over North America and then over the full width of the Atlantic Ocean back to the UK. Okay, we'll put the speed up to 250 knots now. And we'll take a look at the after takeoff checklist. So landing gear are up, and next we've just got to bring in all the flaps, which we're going to do just now. We've just gone through the up notification now on the PFD. So now I'm going to turn to the south and begin looping back round towards Los Angeles. Pacific looking nice and calm down there at the moment. Now the Ocean 9 departure will take us pretty much straight back over the airport, or very close to it, just to the south. But of course we come out this way to gain altitude. So in real life, given the number of airports in the Los Angeles area, I guess the departing traffic out of LAX needs to be at a decent altitude before it's flying over the city again. You know, keeps it clear of Santa Monica and everything else. I know there's a lot of airports in this area. And the weather out there looks pretty realistic as well. Certainly on the experience of my 2 trips to LA. In real life, a pretty characteristic haze hanging over the city, and then the Californian foothill mountains just poking out the top over there. Okay, so everything seems nice and calm, so I'm going to turn off the seatbelt signs. I'm going to turn off the wing lights as well, given that we're in broad daylight. Actually, we're not going to go as close to LAX as I thought we were going to. So you can see the airport just down there, and over to the left of it, that little bit of water I think is Marina del Rey. But we are, yeah, we're going quite a way south. Okay, so we're through 10,000 feet now, so I'm going to turn off the landing lights, and we can now increase our speed as well. Let's just have a quick look at the legs page, which I can see over here. Yeah, I'm just going to switch over now to VNAV. So you can see Long Beach down there. Of course, there's another major airport down at Long Beach, but now we're going to be nice and high and well clear of any traffic down there. Long Beach and then Los Angeles up there. It's just such a huge metropolis. It's this gigantic urban sprawl. Then just to the east of Long Beach is the city of Anaheim. So any fans of Disneyland might have paid a visit to Anaheim. And away we go. So speed's picking up nicely now, and we're just 5,000 feet below transition altitude at flight level 180. So as usual, it's time now for me to let you sit back and enjoy the time-lapse cruise all the way back to the UK, and I will speak to you in several hours' time once we're on our approach. morning and welcome back to the flight. You find me pretty much just over the Wallasey VOR. We have just crossed the Irish Sea and are now back over the UK. Wallasey is just to the south of Liverpool, and we are about to begin our descent into London Heathrow via the Nugra 1 Hotel arrival. We have 16 miles in fact before top descent. The FMC message has just popped up saying we need to reset the MCP altitude, which I'll just do. Over here we're going to descend initially down to flight level 200, and let's take a quick look at the Nugra 1 Hotel arrival so that we can see the detail on that. So pretty straightforward. We're just going to fly from Nugra down to Toba, down to Soket, then down to Bovingdon. Bovingdon is just northwest of London. It's kind of in the Watford area. We need to be at flight level 200 by Toba, flight level 150 at Soket, and then flight level 70 at Bovingdon, flying at 220 knots maximum. We are on VATSIM for this, but we are not currently seeing any controls online, so as a result I will just vector myself in. Now, checking the winds this morning at Heathrow, they are currently landing on 09 left, so we will do the same. So that means we will weave our way round from Bovingdon. From Bovingdon we'll head west out towards Windsor and then leap back round to Heathrow. Taking a quick look at the ILS plate for 09 left. A couple of things to note here. We are a Category D aircraft, we're a 777-300, so that means our minimums would be 257 feet. And the missed approach procedure, we've got to climb to 3,000 feet, passing the later of either 1,580 feet or 0 miles from the 09 left ILS. We then need to turn left onto 036 degrees, track heading away from the London VOR, and then we'll continue as directed. So back in the cockpit, we are now descending down to flight level 200, bang on our descent profile for the Nugra 1 Hotel arrival. I'm just going to do, having taken a look at the charts, there is pop in a minimum descent altitude of 257 BFD. So pop that in just like that. And yeah, that's pretty much our setup now to descend. Let's take a look at our checklists to make sure there's nothing that we've forgotten. So we're going to recall the ICAS. There's nothing troubling showing there, so that's good. The notes we've just checked. We've taken a look at our approach plates. Auto brakes we will set to 1. That will be fine for Heathrow. Not especially heavy today. Landing data, VREF and minimums. Let's head on over now to our EFB, which we've had switched off. So we can now show the landing. We are flying into Heathrow, which is EGLL. We're going to be landing on 09 left. It's dry. And let me just grab the flight radar app on my iPhone and take a look at what the latest METAR is for Heathrow. So, the winds are 50 degrees at 6 knots. The outside air temperature at Heathrow is 18 degrees. It's going to be another nice warm day here in the UK. 18 degrees, and it's still fairly early in the morning. And the QNH is 1022. I'm not going to add anything to the VREF. As I say, we're not that heavy. Flaps will set to 30. Air conditioning we will have on auto, and anti-ice will switch on. So let's see what it calculates. gives us a VREF of 150 knots. That seems quite high. So what we will do is take a look and see what the FMC says. I imagine it might be a little bit lower. Yeah, interesting. We're saying 137 knots. I'm actually going to go with this. 30 degrees at 137 knots on the VREF per the FMC. Oops. Okay, so VREF and minimums we have now set. And approach briefing, well, we've taken a look at the place, so I'm quite happy with what we're doing, and we can tick that as well. So, next up on the checklist will be the altimeters, which we will switch to local pressure once we pass through 7,000 feet, which is normally what the transition level is commenting through. Looks good. Let's just turn on the seat bar signs now that we're into our descent. Flight time so far on this flight is it's about 9 hours and 40 minutes now. So we are that's not right, is it? Yeah, it's coming up to 9 hours. So we have had a good flight. It's run to time. Had some decent tailwinds again, as usual across the Atlantic. So an awful lot quicker than the outbound flight normally is to LA. Just taking a look at VATScope as well on my iPhone, the essential tool for any VAT simmer who needs to know who is flying where. We do now have some ATC on at Heathrow, which is great. We've got the tower online, and we've also got Heathrow ATIS. So let's just see if we can tune into the ATIS. That's 128.075, and just double check that the METAR I've just taken from Flight Radar is correct. Also realised I'm not tuning into Unicom, so let's do that. Not hearing anything on the ATIS frequency at the moment. But what I can tell you is that the ATIS for Heathrow on VATScope is saying it's information alpha. The runway in use is 09 left, so that's as expected. Transition level is 70, also as expected. And the winds are 050 at 5 knots. Bearing between 010 degrees and 100 degrees. So the winds are a little bit changeable, but they're very light. 10 kilometres of visibility. Temperature is 18 degrees. Dew point is 10, and QNH is 1022. So I'll just double check that in here correctly. Yeah, that all is close enough to what I'm expecting. So we will make no changes to the calculation. So we're now comfortably into our descent. We're passing through flight level 240 on our way down to 200, and you can see that the green line is right across Tobid, which is exactly how we want it, because that is aligned with the Nugra 1 Hotel arrival. I'm just going to now select flight level 150, so we'll keep that descent going down to Soppit. So pretty impressed with Prepare 3D V5.2. I'm enjoying these new atmospherics in particular now that it's daylight. There's a really nice bright haze. There's a glare to the horizon which is much improved on what it's always been before. And of course, if we just take a look outside, also see these superb effects where the sunlight glints off the aircraft, which looks great. I know Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 is absolutely sensational, and I have Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 as well on my Flight Sim PC, but I'm still really enjoying Prepare 3D V5. I think it's really, really good, and I think it's pretty impressive what they've managed to do with this, given that Prepare 3D V5 is basically just a very well developed version of FSX. It's just been improved incrementally over time, and I think it's looking really good. Obviously, very, very much looking forward to when PMDG and other add-ons are available for Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. That'll be great. But Prepare 3D still has a place. I think it's good. So we'll just zoom in a little bit on the navigation display. Now we're coming in a little bit closer. I'm also just going to do here is tune in my radios. So I've got Bovingdon in both radios at the moment. I'm going to switch my left VOR to the London VOR, which is at Heathrow. So we're just taking a look down here, I can see that we are 57 miles from Heathrow as the crow flies, and just 44 miles from Bovingdon. Descending on schedule, and everything is looking good. What I've got to just be a little bit wary of is my speed here. I'm just going to put the speed brakes out a little bit, just to pull it back to 270 knots, which is what the plane is trying to reach. It probably just needs a little bit of help getting back the speed brakes extended. Just also on the improved graphics and atmospherics, etc. on Prepare 3D V5 too. Hopefully the cruise will show some of the effects as we went into the evening and also into the dawn. I found it really, really dark. At night time it was really dark. I might actually cut that out altogether because you couldn't really see much, but that in a way is more realistic than what we've had on previous versions of Prepare 3D, where, and certainly in older versions of Flight Sim generally, where you'd have nighttime colours, it'd be dark outside, but the clouds would be this kind of luminescent white, and then if you looked outside, the plane would stick out like a sore thumb. It's great now that we've got a bit more realism to the shadows and the lighting at night time. The downside is that you really couldn't see much at all out of the windows when it was dark. So we're just coming over the Midlands. I think actually we go right over the top of Birmingham Airport on this approach route. I think we've probably already gone over it. But yeah, we come right over the middle of the UK, flying the Negro 1 Hotel. For years this was called Bovingdon 1 Bravo, and in the last year or so it's been renamed Negro 1 Hotel. Pretty straightforward, but when you are landing on 09s at Heathrow, there are some tight turns just at the end of this. If we just take a look at the plan, and let's have a look at our legs page down here. Yeah, we've got some tight turns after Bovingdon. So you can see the little green circles just on the navigation display. There are some deceleration points, and we will need to slow up to make sure that we don't overshoot those turns once we are flying through that bit of the sequence.
Altimeter setting.
So you can hear the altimeter setting audio warning in the background there. That is just trying to tell me that I need to switch over to local pressure, but that's because the default setting is the transition level is flight level 180, and actually in the UK it's going to be or today at Heathrow the transition level is 70. I'm just going to do my radios is tune into Heathrow Tower. I'm going to stick on Yukon for the moment, but we will switch over to the tower once we are on base leg. Virtual Sky is currently pretty quiet, but we do have a couple of other aircraft which are fairly close to Heathrow. There is Speedbird 275 Charlie, who's coming in from San Diego,
Altimeter setting.
and may well reach Heathrow before we do, just before we do. So we'll keep an eye out for that, assuming that we don't get any other controls come online to help maintain separation. Very fractionally above our descent profile
Altimeter
now.
setting.
We just paused at flight level 150 for slightly too long over soffit. As you can see here on the navigation display, the pink diamond is below the centre line on our VNAV profile indicator, but we're only about 700 feet above where we should be, so that's fine. We can more than make that up once we're past Boeing. We do now have these two deceleration points coming up. So any second now, we will see the pink line just here on the primary flight display drop right back, which will show the speed that the plane is trying to achieve. There we go. So it's now come back to 240 knots. I'm going to put out the speed brakes to help it on its way getting down to that.
Altimeter setting. Altimeter setting.
Just 5 miles now from Bovingdon, and I'm actually going to switch over to Flitch and just slow us right down. So it's max 220 knots at the point we get to Bovingdon. I'm going down to 210 knots just because we are doing these turns.
Altimeter setting.
We're through 10,000 feet, so I'm going to turn on the landing lights. I'll turn on the taxi lights. Let's turn the wing lights on as well whilst I'm at it. And we are just going through our minimum clean speed, so I'm going to put out 1 degree of flaps. Okay, so here we are over Bovingdon.
Altimeter setting.
That was me flicking the wrong lever by accident and putting the speed brakes in. I've recently had to recalibrate my age-old Cytec flight yoke system because the throttle lever has been really unreliable and has been jumping around all over the place. So the lever which was meant to be for spoilers is now the thrust lever, and the lever which was meant to be for mixture is now the spoilers
Altimeter
lever.
setting.
It's not ideal, and I keep getting them hooked up. But at least I don't have a situation where I'm on final approach trying to keep the speed all nice and under control, and my erratic thrust lever jumps around all over the place and increases the power. But I've had this flight yoke for a long time now, and it's served me very well, but it's probably seen better days. So now
Altimeter
7,000
setting.
feet, I'm just going to descend us down to, let's go down to 4,000 actually, and that means we're going over to local temperature and pressure, QNH 1022. And I'm also now going to turn left to heading turn right to heading 265. So I mentioned there's another aircraft making its way into Heathrow, which is Speedbird 275 Charlie. Now I've not heard him say anything on Unicom yet, and he is very close in. We may well have an issue there. I think I might look to tuck him behind him. He's currently...
Heathrow traffic shot 1350, taxiing 9 left.
Okay, so Speedbird 275 Charlie is currently just over Reading. In fact, you can just see him now on the navigation display. So if you just take a look on the navigation display down here, you can see that little white diamond 2,500 feet below us. And that's Speedbird 275 Charlie. He's making his way in to Heathrow as well, and we just need to make sure we maintain separation there. So I will probably just stay on a downwind for the time being and tuck him behind. Heathrow traffic, Speedbird 268 is downwind for 09 left. Will report turning base, Speedbird 268. Trouble is, if I turn left onto base now, we are probably going to reach our final approach fix at exactly the same time. So I think it's better if I continue on my downwind leg for the moment. We can just enjoy the sights over Berkshire over to the left hand side. Just do a quick checklist check. Altimeters, yeah, we have set to local pressure, so that's all done. So next is the landing checklist, and let me just see if the tower controller is on. Can't hear anything at the moment, but we'll switch back over to that very shortly. Just keep on Unicom for the moment. And all we're waiting for here is to see this diamond pass by on our left hand side. As soon as that's happened, I'm going to turn onto my base leg and we can continue making our way into 09 left. As we're going to be following, I'll just keep our speed nice and slow. About 5 degrees of flap now. I should have done that a short while ago. I'm a little bit nose up right now. Just seeing if you can see that with the traffic, but I can't. I can't because of these enhanced atmospherics with all the lovely haze. It's quite nice. It's quite nice to have that problem, I suppose. Again, just thinking back to when Flight Sim was just green and blue, where you could probably see right the way down to, you know, the Isle of Wight from here, because there was just nothing in the way. it's so much more immersive if you are trying to look through haze and weather like this. Right, we have now definitely passed this traffic. The white diamond you can see is kind of at our 7 o'clock, so let's turn into base leg. Heathrow traffic, Speedbird 268, turning base leg for 09 left. Heathrow traffic. So we'll just turn directly south to 180 degrees. Still looking out for that traffic, still can't see him out there. But it looks like he's just establishing now on 09 left. He might be going into 09 right, but it looks more like 09 left from what I can tell here. So a bit of use of judicious use of VAT scope, and the TCAS system on the navigation display means we've managed to maintain separation quite effectively there. Let's now turn 130 degrees to intersect the localizer for 09 left. We're obviously very low here. Ideally I would have achieved a continuous descent approach, but it's obviously that much harder when you are also trying to manage separation from other aircraft. So I can see the localizer starting to come across here, so I'm going to hit the approach hold button. Here we go. Heathrow traffic, Speedbird 268, establishing ILS 09 left, and we are 20 miles out. Heathrow traffic. Having done my my Unicom communications, let's now tune the tower and tell them that we're established. Heathrow Tower, good morning, Speedbird 268, established 09 left, 18 miles.
So 268, hello, continue 09 left to number 2, this is winds at 850 degrees 5 knots.
Continue 09 left, and we're number 2, Speedbird 268.
So 275, Charlie clear to land, runway 09 left, surface wind 050 degrees 5 knots.
Clear to runway 09 left, do watch your sun price on it, thank you.
I feel a bit out of practice at doing air traffic control, because I haven't really come across any air traffic controllers in 2 or 3 weeks. My latest journey around the world has been to go from Heathrow to Cape Town, and I posted a few highlights of that on my Instagram. Then I went from Cape Town to Auckland. If you haven't watched that video on the channel, then take a look. We went right over Antarctica. Then I went Auckland to Los Angeles. Again, there's some highlights of that on Instagram. And now I'm flying back to Heathrow. And this is the first time, save for a tower controller at Los Angeles, this is the first time that I've had air traffic control to communicate with since I left Heathrow about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So let's do the landing checklist now that we're nice and established. Speed brakes are armed. flaps are on the way out. Landing gear I will put down very shortly once we are established on the glide slope. I can see that the other traffic, if I just take a look at my navigation display, I can see that the other traffic is basically 10 miles in front of me, so that's good, that's enough. He's now on short final. Lovely hum to the engines on the 777. There's a tiny little airfield down there, not sure which one that is. Just some grass strips. I'm not sure that I've ever really done a final this far out from 09F before. Looking out now for Windsor Castle. That's normally the sightseeing treat of flying into the 09s at Heathrow. So just checking on the missed approach procedure. We've got that set up, so we do have go around set as the thrust limit. Our heading for go around purposes needs to be at 036 degrees, and the go around altitude is
Bird 7 Juliet, push and start approved, face west.
Push and start approved, face west, Eagle 7 Juliet.
So we are all set in the event that we need to go around as well. So we're now established on the glide, so we're going to pop the landing gear down. And I'm going to slow to our VREF as well now of 137. So flaps 20. Flaps 25. Ah, there's Windsor Castle. Suddenly spotted it. And flaps 30.
We got to some fighter request taxi today, over.
775 Charlie, welcome to Heathrow, taxi right Alpha, Charlie, stand 548.
And the landing checklist is now complete.
For 54 right, we got to some 5 Charlie, thank you.
Just confirm stand 548.
Stand 548, we got to some 5 Charlie.
7268 clear to land, 09 and left, surface wind 050 degrees 5 knots.
Clear to land, 09 left, speed 268. Okay, so we'll turn off the autopilot, turn off the auto throttle, and I have control. Under the glide slope.
Approaching 0,
there we are.
9,
better.
left.
Heathrow Tower, hello, speedbird 49 heavy, Boeing 787-9, stand 561. We have QNH 1022 requesting IFR clearance to Seattle, US information Bravo.
Smooth 49 Heathrow, hello, your clearance to CL via the Compton, then your flight planned route. After departure, runway 09 left. Climb straight ahead to London 1.5 DME, and then turn right heading 220 degrees. Climb to altitude 6,000 feet. Squawk 7304.
Clear Seattle via Compton, then asphalt, runway 09 left. Climb straight ahead to 1.5 DME from London, then turn right 220, climb to altitude 6,000 feet, and squawk 7304, Speedbird 49.
Speedbird 49, and read about correct.
40, 30, 20, 10.
There we are. Reverse thrust. And manual brakes. And we will take this taxiway just here. Landing lights off, strobes off, wing lights off. We can bring the flaps in.
Speedbird 268, welcome to Heathrow. Second right on Bravo for stand 532. Bye bye.
Second right Bravo, stand 532. Speedbird 268, thanks very much. Turn off the flight directors.
Give us some Jura and taxi.
Turn off the auto
Speedbird
brakes.
7 Juliet, hold Alpha Bravo 13.
Hold Alpha Bravo 13, Speedbird 7 Juliet.
Again, now that we're on the ground, it's quite hard to describe specifically, but I can just see an improvement in the shadows and the way the light reflects off the various buildings here in V5.2. It's looking really good. Let's get the APU on. Another very, very enjoyable flight in the 777. So I've flown more hours in the triple than in any other study level add-on that I have. And it always feels very, very
Speedbird 7 Juliet, clear for
familiar,
takeoff, runway
very
09
comfortable.
left, surface wind 050 degrees 5 knots.
I always feel like I know where I
Let's
am.
take off on my
I've had to
Jura
adjust
line.
recently, obviously, to using the EFB, which I'm still getting to
Getting
grips with.
Good night. Bye bye.
Thanks for flying, bye bye.
But I always find the 777 from PMBGG to be a very sort of reliable, straightforward plane to fly. I guess it's just what you're used to ultimately. So let's see if gate 532 is actually on here. Normally the gate that I'm assigned by ATC doesn't then appear. So let's see if it's going to be on here. No, it doesn't. So we've got 533 and 531. Let's just go with 533. It's just extraordinary how many times I've had that issue. But I'm assigned a gate that is not on GSX. I mean, I haven't actually left home in all the weeks that I've been doing this journey to Cape Town to Auckland to LA, and now back to Heathrow. But even so, it feels like a sort of homecoming of sorts to be back at Heathrow now. I haven't been into Heathrow for a few weeks. It shows how immersive the virtual world can be. I will call up the tower controller and just double check that stand 533 is okay. Once I've seen that there's no other traffic there.
Juliet, nothing further, I'm afraid. Unicorn 1 PT, that's what I, bye-bye.
So today's flight time was just a fraction of 9.5 hours, bang on schedule, which is well, it's just pleasing. It's an extra little bit of satisfaction when it all goes exactly as planned. Heathrow Tower, Speedbird 268. Can we take stand 533 instead? We can't get 532 on GSX.
That's what is exactly, yeah, that's approached.
Roger, Speedbird 268. So here is 533. Swing the plane in. Doesn't feel like I'm very straight. It's quite tricky trying to see the safe dock system from a distance. Still not saying stop on the safe dock, but we'll live without that. Right, let's turn off the engines, turn off the seatbelt signs, turn off the beacon, and call out the jetway. So thank you very much, as always, for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed the journey over from Los Angeles to London Heathrow. If you have, please click on the subscribe button. Please click on the like button if you've seen something that I could do better or that I've got wrong. Please leave a comment, because that's how I learn how to do all of this, and I really appreciate the feedback. And please also click on the bell if you'd like to hear about future videos that I put up here on the channel. I will see you again soon for some more short and long haul flying, both on MSFS 2020 and on Prepare 3D V5.2. Thanks again for watching, and see you soon.